So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Digital Leadership Series. Today, we have with us a special guest, Manjunath Laksh, who's the founder and CEO of Productron Innovation. So, his background, he is a computer applications graduate and an MBA from Symbiosis. He worked as a developer for about 9 years in product and services companies around Bangalore, Abu Dhabi, and the United States. And then he moved to product management in Zyme Solutions in 2009 and 2011. About almost now 13 years back, he founded Productron, focusing on product management and marketing consulting. And in 2020, he started a digital marketing subscription service. So a very varied and diverse profile. So welcome to the Digital Leadership Series, Manjunath. Good to have you here.
I'm equally delighted to be part of the series, and it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Let's delve into the discussion straight away. We're going to be discussing with Manjunath today about the very exciting field of UI and UX. So Manjunath, tell me about the contribution of UI and UX in capturing and retaining today's very low attention and low commitment kind of audience.
When I started as a developer, I was given UI modules to develop. So I used to develop user interfaces for the early web applications, using Java, AWT and Swing, and those were the very early primitive Java interfaces. And also then Web 2 came into place, and UI became a very important critical aspect of all applications. So from a very early stage in my career, I've been associated with UI. Then later the terms like user experience and all later got evolved. But I was actually doing these things, even before the terms came into existence. Basically, my contribution is to always make the interfaces extremely accessible even to the user who doesn't have a prior experience of using such a system. So it's always making it very simple and extremely accessible to a set of people who don't have that kind of experience. So that is one. Then later, when I moved into management, I learned the importance of branding and design and stuff like that. I started to implement or combine those aspects into the experience. And so far, I'm lucky to have good customers who have recognized the advantages of such a good user experience. So to make a low attention span audience to stick to a particular experience for a significant amount of time, I think the quality of engagement is the only answer for that. See, the thing is, if the engagement quality, that is what is the reward the user is getting out of that experience, that reward, if that is of very high grade, then I don't think there is any struggle to retain. The retention problem comes when there is low quality takeaways for the user, or it's a very long and cumbersome usability. That's when the user tends to get distracted, and it should be either a typical, like any typical application. It should, if it is a non-entertaining app, then it should be able to, the people should be able to quickly get all the whatever usability objectives they have, why they came to that particular UI, we should help them achieve. But if it is an entertaining app, like maybe an Instagram or YouTube, where people spend hours and hours, then it is more about are you giving the good quality entertainment or good quality information or something. So I think it's more about give and take. If the reward is good, retention will be good.
Got it. So in your opinion, what are the kind of best practices in UX design? You can tell me from a B2C perspective as well as from a B2B perspective, because we'll have a diverse audience here. You can provide some examples as well. best
So
practices?
first I'll tell the best practices which applies to both B2C and B2B, because that is a very common thing. So one thing which is most important in any UI UX is consistency. If a particular usability has a particular set of components, and the way they are placed, or how it looks and feels, how is the experience interacting with those components? It may be a text box, it may be a label, it may be. So there has to be a consistency in that. Once there is a consistency, people will start understanding and liking and getting their thought process aligned with the UI. So there is always a jugalbandi between user's thought and the interface that is driving them. So as long as we are in sync with the user's thought, there is always a good retention, and that is what is called good usability. So this is common between B2B and B2C. What is different from usability in B2B or UX in B2B and B2C is, in B2B, there is a captive audience. That is, it may be a set of employees in an organization, or it may be a set of suppliers, or so generally the number of users will be restricted for that UI. In that case, there is at least a scope of having a UX which requires a learning curve. It's developed for everyone. So we cannot expect anyone to have go through any learning curve to get adapted to that UI and then start using it. And no user will give us that luxury to, they'll not invest so much time to just learn an interface. So it becomes a little more challenging in B2C, but I think 90% of all other components are same. It's just that we have to reduce the learning curve a bit more in B2C.
Very interesting. You want to tell us about what specifically, can be done from a B2C perspective, some best practices to ensure that the audience is able to, very intuitive. I mean, it's very easy to say that the user interface is very intuitive. But what does that intuitive mean? What are the best practices that go into it?
Yeah. I mean, this is a very important question. I must appreciate this, because intuitiveness is one of the extremely important aspects. So what is intuitiveness? Intuitiveness is for the user to see the behavior exactly like how he has a notion about how that feature should work. So if something works the way he is thinking that it should work, then it is intuitive. So it gives them a reward. It gives them, oh, this is exactly how I thought it should work. So then that means somebody has put in some thought into this. So that's when the user will start appreciating the application, the experience it's providing. So intuitiveness, as you said, is and now you said give me some examples, right? So now we have seen so many login forms. Every application has a login, right?
Yeah.
So if assume there is a in 99.9% application, there will be username first, and then there will be a password, then there will be a login button. If you lack that intuitiveness, or if you lack consistency, what happens is, if you put username and password side by side, or if you change the order, or if any change you do to this, because people have already used thousands of logins and passwords applications, so don't mess with that. So whatever is already working fine, just keep it, be consistent, keep it intuitive. I think that is one biggest takeaway. A lot of people do experiments, but some of those experiments have no value in it, in the sense, suppose you want to change a paradigm of particular usability, but if that doesn't have any particular reward, why are you changing it just for the sake of changing? If there is a particular business case it is serving, I can understand. So then we can try to still make it a little more intuitive than usual. But if so, it's always about risk and reward, right? If we want to take higher risk, then there should be a higher reward for that. I was extending this login and password UI. example. So what is the next step of that? So everybody obviously will say that, oh, this has been done for decades now, and it should be made even more easier, or the UX of that should be evolved. Then what happens? Then the lot of password manager apps have come now, and in fact most devices have their own proprietary password managers, in which you just use your fingerprint, and using the previously stored username password, it can input and it can get the username. So that is also a radical change from the whatever is tried and tested intuitive thing, but it is in a step forward, right? There is a risk, but that risk is very much rewarded. What is it that making is that is changing the paradigm of logging in, and user doesn't have to use a password. He doesn't have to remember a password. He or she doesn't have to remember. So that type of innovation, that type of a thing or change, risk taking should be encouraged, rather than just superficially just rearranging the components or making the password field.
Got it. So Manjunath, just interesting point you made, that making changes for the sake of changes. Very often, when companies move from a freemium model to a premium model, they make tweaks in the interface to make it more and more difficult for a consumer to use the free model, and the premium model keeps coming up in their face. So related to this, a question that how much should a company take inputs from the super users of their app while designing UI, or UX for their apps?
So let me give you a paradigm to explain this much better, right? So Henry Ford, in his famous story, he said, if I had asked my past customers or existing customers, what do you want, right? I'm building a car. What do you want in that? So if he had gone for that kind of a feedback, he said they would have asked me for faster horses, not an engine, not not an assembly line. That's the kind of a thing. So super users are very valuable. There is no doubt about it, because they drive the usage, and because they consume the UI for most part, their inputs are very necessary. But it's also important not to get carried away, because they are already in a very tunnel vision. That they're having a tunnel vision. They're just trying to improve, right? For example, another example I can give you is in the BlackBerry era, right? So everything was focused on how to improve the typing. So the keyboard on the phone, how it can be made compact, but still the feel of the keypad should be good, the typing experience. And then Steve Jobs brings in a touch screen, which is a lot more delightful and frees up space for extra screen. So that's why I'm saying. So if Steve Jobs didn't rely on his innovator instincts, and if he had only gone by super users' feedback, he would have made another keyboard phone. So it's very important to take super users along, not to disappoint them, obviously. Plus, you should also add radical ideas in which you eliminate the problem rather than solve the problem if possible. Most people get stuck in solving the problem where there is a chance of eliminating the problem.
So just extending this, what do you see as the role of UX in the digital transformation journey for an enterprise?
I would say this is the extremely crucial aspect of digital transformation, which I feel that not enough importance or attention is currently being given industry-wide in general. Some companies are doing, but some companies are not. I'll tell you why. A good UX, what does it do? What does it achieve? It achieves greater engagement. With greater engagement or more comprehensive engagement, you are gathering more data. You are gathering more usage. With gathering of more data and usage, you are improving the data dictionaries, you're filling the big data with lot more useful, credible information, which will help you in evolving your future of digital transformation. After all, what is digital transformation? It's about converting the user, his behavior, his learning with all the data that is being collected over the years and presenting a better experience, right? Doing things which were not possible, say, last 5 years back, right? That is what digital information is. And collecting the usability data and usage information is the most crucial part of it. Like if we launch a spaceship, but don't put any scientific instruments in that, and if you just shoot it and it lands on moon and it does nothing, it just sends a message that I landed on moon. Yeah, it may be an achievement to brag about, but it may not further add on to anything. So all I'm saying is usability can be a very big catalyst, I would say, and also an enabler for the digital transformation to evolve faster and more meaningfully.
So what are the pitfalls in your experience, in UI UX design that one should be very careful to avoid? Any things that one should be careful to be avoiding?
Yeah. So the top things, one I already told you, over-reliance on super users, that should be avoided. We should take the inputs and do nothing to disappoint them. But beyond that, we should also have a proper vision and strategy. Right now, the thing is, we have strategy for everything. We have market strategy, we have business strategy, competition strategy, but a lot of companies lack UI UX strategy. For them, UI UX is just like, one more nice thing to have, but actually not. It's one of the most important aspect of, or it's a decider of a product's success or a failure. Looking at the pace at which digital economy is growing, the importance is only going to go up. It cannot go down. When we talk about evolution, right? Everything that the user does, there is no. A lot of people, many applications don't collect the feedback. Each and every user interaction is an input. The minute we just take it as an input and we perform the function and finish the use case, that's not the only thing. There is a treasure trove of information based on how the user is interacting. I'll give you one example. Say, for example, if we are all using Windows. So in Windows, we have File Explorer. So in my computer, you open the C drive and you have files. So some users prefer to see the folders and files in blocks, tile view, right? Some user wants to see in details where there is last updated date and stuff like that. And though the same person will go to another user experience, or he'll open an Android phone. So there is that whatever the preference of the user is not captured and stored in a way that it can be shared across the. So for a guy who is a little digitally challenged, every user interface he goes, it's a new chapter for him, right? So that's another thing. So personalization, there is a lot of user interaction data that is lost because we don't capture it. We don't think it's important, but it's actually very important. If there is another competitor app which gives that view as a default, so the user may dump your app and go to that app, right? He may not, and he will not come and tell you this is the reason I'm moving. So it's very so when he is using the system, he's already telling you what he wants, and you are losing the data. So that's another one of the bigger pitfalls.
Got it. One last question, Manjunath, that there is this perception, right, that you should just sort out your UI. If they feel that UX is just about aesthetics, and the rest will just take care of itself. So, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, the truth cannot be any more stranger than what you're saying, because ultimately, see, aesthetics is very important. I'm not cutting any marks on aesthetics, but aesthetics without a proper usability and functionality and engagement is extremely fake and superficial. So all I'm saying is aesthetics is the finishing layer. So use it as an icing, but the quality of the cake cannot come down because the icing is good. Nobody will buy a cake because only the icing was good, but the cake was extremely ordinary. Nobody buys that cake for the second time. So that's I think that's a very good example. So I don't think there should be competition between functionality, aesthetics, design, user. I think everything has to be in balance. I don't think one is more important than the other. Everything is important. Maybe I have seen the other extremes also. There are extremely good quality apps on our Play Store, which works flawlessly with no errors, very good user experience, but they don't look good because nobody is invested in a designer to properly put a face. So I'll not take away any marks, but at the same time, people should understand this cake method, analogy, and come up with something that is equally good inside and out.
Sounds good, Manjunath. That was a very, very insightful set of answers on the hot topic of UI and UX. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Manjunath. Thank you so much for your insights.
Same here. I didn't know how the time passed. It was such a intellectually stimulating session. Have a great day.